Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I actually save money on our groceries by meal planning and just how I do pretty much all of our grocery shopping. It saves us so much money for our family of 4 and it definitely helps out with our budget. So a couple weeks ago, I did a different finance video where I kind of just went over how we save money, how we live on one income. And one of the main questions that you guys had was, how do we save money on groceries? How do I meal plan? All of that sort of thing. So I do have a whole separate video on how I actually come up with our meal plan. I personally do monthly meal planning. I've been doing that for like 4 or 5 months now, and I definitely really like it. So I'm gonna have that video down below if you guys want to check that one out, and that will be a really in-depth dive into how I meal plan. So before I even start looking for recipes on Pinterest or in my cookbooks or anything, I will take a complete inventory of my fridge, my freezer, and my pantry, and that is what I will use for the most part when I come up with our meals, and that really helps save us a ton of money. So once I've taken a complete inventory of everything, that's when I will actually start looking for recipes. So like I've mentioned, most of my recipes do come from Pinterest, or I have some of my mom's recipes that I use. Sometimes I will pull one from a cookbook, but honestly, for the most part, I'm finding my recipes off of Pinterest. About a month ago, I started trying out this app called Saffron. It's a really cool app, and they are actually sponsoring today's video, so I'm super excited to share it with you guys because I have been loving it. They have a really cool concept that they've come up with for meal planning, for groceries, and just everything when it comes to creating your meal plan. So it's actually an app that you can use either on your computer or on your smartphone. So I'm gonna hop over to my computer and show you guys actually what it does, but it's honestly the coolest thing when it comes to creating your meal plan. So here is the Saffron app. I'm just going to be adding a couple of recipes over to my meal plan for next month. So I actually have this Swedish meatball recipe. It was on my meal plan for last month, but I never ended up using it. So I'm just going to add this to my December meal plan. So this is the whole recipe, but literally all you have to do is copy and paste that link for the recipe, copy and paste it into the Saffron app. It's super simple. It only takes a minute, and then it actually condenses the recipe for you. It makes it super easy to read. That's one of the things that I don't like about a lot of the recipes that you find online. There's just a lot of fluff to them, so this makes it really simple and easy to read. So as you can see, this really condenses down the recipe. It makes it very easy to follow along with, and it also gets rid of all those annoying ads that are on a lot of blog posts. I absolutely love it. Another feature that I find really cool with this Saffron app is that once you get the recipe into the app, you can really easily edit anything that you want to. It's super simple. It only takes a minute. So that's what I'm doing to this hummus recipe here. You guys know that I use this recipe all the time. This is the original recipe that I had found on Pinterest, but of course I've tweaked the measurements a little bit to what our family likes, and it just makes it really nice to be able to actually change it in the recipe, and then you can save it to your own personal cookbook that way. So now I have that hummus recipe all edited, it's ready to go, and I know exactly how I like it, and I'm able to save it that way. And you can also just click on the direct link to the website, and you will be able to follow the exact recipe if you ever need to refer back to the original. So it just has a lot of really cool features. You can just add complete recipes to your grocery list, check off the ingredients that you already have. There's honestly so much that you can do on this app. You can also do a complete meal plan, which is so cool. You really have everything in one spot on this app, and you can actually download it for free, which is super cool. But as you can see here, I'm just adding in a couple of recipes. There is a ton that you can do. You guys definitely want to check this one out. It really is awesome, and it is all free to you. And I was actually able to make you a cookbook, which I was really excited about. So I created my own cookbook that I can share with you guys. This is like all of our family favorites that I know you guys are going to love. So I'm going to have all of the information in the description box of how you need to download everything. But honestly, you guys, this app is such a cool one. So I've definitely been using that Saffron app a lot lately when it comes to meal planning. I think it's really cool and a great way to have everything all in one place. So I definitely recommend checking that app out. Definitely worth it. A really cool app. But now I want to get into some tips and tricks on how I actually save money on our groceries other than meal planning. So the first tip that I want to touch on is all about meat. So you can either go with some meatless meals. Personally, I don't do a lot of this just because my husband really likes meat. We do eat quite a bit of meat for most of our meals, but if you're trying to save money, a great way to just cut down your cost a little bit is to do like 1 or 2 meatless meals per week, and that will definitely cut your budget down because usually meat is the most expensive part of groceries. But if you don't want to try out any meatless meals, that's totally fine, but I would definitely recommend shopping the sales. I rarely get our meat at Walmart or when it's not on sale. The one exception to that is chicken. I will usually buy our chicken at Walmart or at Aldi because it's honestly pretty cheap. It's usually $1.99 a pound or like $1.88. It just depends on where I get it. But the chicken I will usually get there. But when it comes to pork and ground beef, I will almost always shop local. It's so much cheaper that way. Our local grocery store has different meats on sale every single week, so at least once a month they usually will have a really good sale on ground beef, and that is when I will go stock up. I will usually buy like 8 or 10 pounds of it and stick it in the freezer. A lot of times I will also pre-cook it just to make it a little bit easier for a really busy weeknight. For example, the last time that I got ground beef, I got it for like $2.67 a pound at my local grocery store. So I went and got like 10 pounds of it. Whereas if I were to get it at Walmart, one, it's usually not as good of quality. I definitely prefer our local grocery store. And two, it was like almost $4 a pound at Walmart. So that was like $1.30 per pound in savings. So definitely a really, really good deal. And definitely shop local when it comes to meat. I've definitely found the best deals that way. I do just want to touch on chicken for a minute. I will usually get ours at Walmart or at Aldi. Both of them are really good prices, or sometimes I will get it local if it's cheaper there, but for the most part, our local grocery store is usually more expensive. So I typically will buy our chicken at Walmart. But I always buy the fresh chicken. I have had a way better experience with it. It's usually a little bit more per pound, but I honestly think it saves you money and the quality of the chicken seems so much better that way. So I will always get the fresh chicken and I package it myself and freeze it that way. Again, I usually buy all of it at the beginning of the month, package it out, and then I will use it throughout the month. It seems like whenever I buy the frozen chicken, it is filled with a ton of water and it also has some extra preservatives in it, so I just try and avoid it. But honestly, like the chicken shrivels up to almost nothing whenever I get frozen chicken, so I just really prefer to go the fresh route and then freeze it myself. Another thing that you can do when it comes to meat is just look at the different types of meat that you're eating, because obviously that will make a huge difference on your grocery budget. So chicken, for example, is usually pretty cheap. We eat mostly chicken. I would say we eat like 50% chicken and then 50% like everything else. It's just a lot cheaper that way, and chicken's also a little bit healthier for you. It's very lean, whereas like ground beef and pork are a lot more fatty. So that kind of covers everything for meat, but now I want to move on to pantry staples. So one of the main things when it comes to anything pantry related is definitely go for the generic brand. I almost always will buy the Great Value brand or the Aldi brand wherever I'm shopping. I almost will always grab that brand, especially when it comes to like pasta, canned goods. Honestly, most everything is very, very similar. There's only a few exceptions to this for me. For example, I think Cheerios, I tend to want to get the name brand, but my kids don't seem to care. But if I'm eating them, I want the Cheerio brand ones. I can tell a difference. But that's like the one thing that comes to mind. For the most part, I really do go with the generic brand. You can honestly save like 30 to 50%, which is just insane because they're pretty much the same exact product. So I do one huge grocery trip at the beginning of the month. I get all of our meat, all of our pantry staples, all of our canned goods, pretty much anything that I can buy up front that will last through the whole entire month, I will get at the beginning of the month. And then every single week I go and get fresh produce, we get milk, we get eggs, we get bread, and then anything else that we might have forgotten or that we just need to pick up, that's what I will get in our weekly budget. For our family personally, we budget $400 for groceries. We are a family of 4. It's my husband, myself, and then we have 2 toddlers. Obviously, our toddlers don't eat as much, but I will say that we spend a little bit more on them in some areas just because they eat a ton of like fresh fruits and veggies. Obviously, my husband and I do as well, but I really try and incorporate that a ton into their diet, and that gets a little bit more expensive. So in some ways, we do spend quite a bit on our toddlers. Usually we spend around $250 at the beginning of the month for the meat, the pantry stuff, all of the big bulk grocery items. And then usually on a week-to-week basis, we spend right around like $40 for all of that fresh stuff. And just dividing it out that way really works for us. I know kind of what I'm supposed to spend every week when I go. And I also have all of my meal planning done at the beginning of the month, and it's just really, really easy for us that way. I definitely want to take a minute to talk about produce because this really can make or break your budget. So like I said, we do eat a lot of like fresh produce for my kids and stuff. So I will usually buy like 2 to 3 fruits every single week, 2 to 3 veggies for my kids. My kids love peppers, so we always get the peppers, we always get cucumbers, we always have apples on hand, and then usually I will pick up bananas and usually like a couple different types of berries every single week. And that's kind of what I get for our fresh fruits and veggies. But when it comes to veggies that I'm serving with our meals, I will almost always grab the frozen veggies. You can get them for super cheap at Walmart, like the Great Value brand steamer bags. They are so cheap. Usually they're around like 80 cents to $1. And that is our side a lot of nights. It's so cheap. It's so easy. And like if you buy frozen broccoli versus fresh broccoli, the fresh broccoli is almost always going to be more expensive, so I definitely tend to gravitate towards frozen veggies especially. Just a couple more tips on fresh produce. Definitely make sure you are always shopping these sales. For example, if strawberries are not on sale, I'm usually not going to grab them. If they're really expensive, I'm going to go for whatever is on sale. Just because I want it doesn't mean I always buy it. Like last week, strawberries were super expensive, so I bought grapes, which were on sale instead. And it works out totally fine that way. You're definitely going to save a lot of money if you're actually shopping these sales when it comes to fresh produce. Shop the things that are in season. Don't buy the things that are not. Or you can always go for the frozen alternative, and that's usually going to be a little bit cheaper. Another thing I should mention is if you have fresh produce that is about to go bad or it's starting to spoil a little bit, pop it in your freezer because there are so many produce that can get frozen. Blueberries, strawberries, bananas. There are so many different ways to use it. Spinach. Spinach is something I freeze a lot because a lot of times I will buy a bag of spinach, use it in one recipe, and then if I don't freeze it, it's going to go to waste. So I will freeze the rest of that bag, and I'm usually able to get 2 more recipes out of it. So definitely make sure you're just like paying attention to that. Don't let things go bad. Stick it in your freezer instead. And produce is not the only thing that you can freeze when things are starting to go bad. I have like a whole list of things that I freeze on a regular basis, but just to name a few, creamer for coffee. I do this every single month. I get the big thing of Starbucks creamer. I'm the only one that drinks coffee, so there's no way that I can go through that before it goes bad. So I will take half of it as soon as I open the bottle, and I will freeze it in 2 different mason jars and stick it into my freezer. And that's what I will use after the big main bottle is gone. It saves so much money because otherwise half of that creamer would just end up going bad anyway. You can do the same thing with whipping cream. You can freeze sour cream, cheese, shredded cheese, block cheese, cream cheese, bread, cooked rice, fresh produce, spinach, carrots, bananas, strawberries, blueberries. Like you can freeze so much. If you're not sure, Google it. You'll come up with an answer. You can almost always freeze it. Another huge tip that I recently started to do in like the last 3 or 4 months is I prep all of our fruits and veggies as soon as I get home from the grocery store. I will usually do it that night or the next morning, and this saves us a lot of money. If I don't prep everything, it ends up going to waste. Like a couple weeks ago, I bought grapes, forgot to prep them, and they literally just sat in the back of the fridge because I didn't pay attention to the fact that they were there. It was too much work because I was feeling lazy. If I have everything prepped and ready to go, I'm a lot more apt to give my kids actually a healthy snack. It's just as easy for me to grab something that's already prepped in the fridge versus like a bag of crackers or chips or something. So definitely prep all of your fruits and veggies in advance, and that will help a ton. Now I just have some random grocery tips that definitely save money. So when it comes to meat, obviously it's expensive, so we really like to bulk it up with pasta or rice, whatever it might be. That's why a lot of times you see me doing a smaller amount of meat with like a bigger amount of a carb or veggie or something else. It really bulks up the meal and makes it go a lot farther. Another little thing that you can do is to use a lot of spices to add flavor versus extra ingredients. Spices are usually pretty cheap, especially if you get the generic brand ones, and they can add so much flavor and they cost almost nothing. Usually a lot of the spices are like $1 and they're really good. They add so much flavor, so definitely play around with spices and see what your family likes. Now I want to talk about kids' snacks, because this is an area that can really get out of control and can get really expensive. So my number one tip is to keep your kids' snacks boring. Yes, I know it sounds weird, but if I give my kids a really fun snack, they're not gonna want to eat their lunch. They're not gonna want to eat their dinner. I keep my kids' snacks really boring. It's usually gonna be graham crackers, Ritz crackers, fruits and veggies. There's not a lot of variety there. I keep it pretty boring. And you know what? My kids eat their dinners because they know they're not going to get this like really fun snack. Yes, of course, I give them fruit snacks from time to time, or I'll give them veggie straws if we're in the car, stuff like that. I'm not the worst mom. I give them fun things too, but for the most part, on like a day-to-day basis, I do keep their snacks pretty boring, and it's for a reason. Another thing that will save a lot of money in the long run is to invest in really good storage containers, and I'm talking for everything. For fresh produce, I use the Food Saver containers. They are amazing. I'm gonna have them linked down below for you guys. And then a lot of times I will use just the glass storage containers for my fridge to store leftovers in. For my pantry, I have like cereal canisters. They're all airtight, and they honestly save us so much money because those things don't go bad, and it is well worth the money. And also make sure that you're keeping your flour, your sugar, all of your baking ingredients in some airtight container. I use the Rubbermaid ones. I've had them for years. I really like them. Again, I will have all of those products that I really love linked down below. So if you're on the hunt for any really good airtight containers, definitely check those ones out. Another huge tip is to actually order your groceries online. I definitely save money when I do this, especially when it comes to doing my big monthly grocery trip where I'm spending like $250. I can see exactly what my total is going to be before I even check out. I know if I need to adjust things or if I need to do an extra meatless meal. I can tweak things when I'm doing that, and it definitely saves us money. So order your groceries online if you have that option, especially if there aren't any fees. I usually go through Walmart grocery pickup, and I really do love it. I will say Aldi is a little bit cheaper. I've definitely compared the two, and Aldi is cheaper, but for me personally, we're about 45 minutes away from the nearest Aldi, and it's not really worth the drive to me for the most part. If I'm already gonna be in that town, then I will definitely go to Aldi, but it's not worth it for me to pay for gas there and back and my time. So usually I will just do the Walmart grocery pickup, and it's really easy that way. And also with COVID, it's just kind of nice to not have to go into the store. Another huge tip is that bulk is not always cheaper. I think it's just like written in our brain that bulk is going to be cheaper. So many people run to Costco and they get the big bulk items, and there's nothing wrong with that, but definitely make sure that you're always checking the ounces on items. Like for example, I got peanut butter a few weeks ago, and it was actually cheaper for me to get the smaller jar versus like the bigger jar. It's like ingrained in our brain that the bigger jar is cheaper. It's not always. You got to check the price per ounce. Walmart is really good about that. It literally says it right on the little sticker for you, so you don't even have to calculate any of it yourself. Another great way to cut costs when it comes to your groceries is to get rid of all of the extra beverages. Pretty much the only extra beverage that we ever get is coffee. I am a coffee drinker. I will usually drink 1 cup a day, sometimes 2, but we pretty much don't buy any other beverages ever. Very rarely will we pick up like pop or anything, juice. We don't really buy any other beverages, but those can add up really quickly if you're a pop drinker or a juice drinker. All of those definitely add a lot of extra cost to your budget. Also, making things from scratch can save you a ton of money, whether it's bread, cookies, whatever it might be. Whip it up from scratch. It's fun to do, and it will save you a lot of money because you are paying somebody else to do all of that work for you. Especially if you're a stay-at-home mom, you might have some extra time. You can get your kids involved, and that's something that I do a lot, and it definitely cuts down on our grocery budget. Another huge one that a lot of people talk about, it seems obvious, but don't go shopping on an empty stomach. Do not walk into the grocery store if you are hungry. I promise you, you will spend more money. I've done this 1,000 times. I will always come out with a bunch of junk food when I do this. So just don't go to the grocery store if you're hungry. Go have a snack first, go have a meal, and then go grocery shopping, and you will save yourself a ton of money. Another one is to only allow yourself to go to the grocery store once per week. Don't let yourself go any more than that, or you're definitely going to spend more money. Every time you walk into the grocery store, you're going to be tempted by impulse purchases. So just don't go there any more than you have to. Set yourself a day every single week. This is when I go grocery shopping. Don't go there unless it's an absolute emergency. If you're out of milk or something for your kids, yes, go to the grocery store, but just like only go for that one item. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. I would love to have you over on my channel. And don't forget to check out the Saffron app. It's such a cool app. I know you guys are going to love it. And like I said, I created a full cookbook for you guys with all of our family favorites. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that one. I will have all of the info in my description box. So definitely don't forget to head over there. Check it out. I know you're going to be obsessed with it just like I am, but that is going to wrap up today's video. I will catch you all in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care.